Hey guys, I'm Phoenix here, and let's talk about the Fallout 76 beta, shall we? I played about 6 hours last night. I would have played it earlier and got a video out earlier, except I'd been hit by that 50GB removal thing. Basically, I did my preload, hit the play button, and it deleted that 50GB of data, so I had to re-download it all over again. So I got in for the beta last night. I'm going to start with the bad, and we'll move on to the good, and we'll also cover the weird I'll cover the weird now. So the weird that I've noticed is that super mutants are in the game, and I believe, if my Fallout lore is correct, the super mutants wouldn't have been found yet, or at least the FEV wouldn't have been found yet, so I'm not completely certain why there's super mutants in the world, because you do need concentrated levels of FEV to create super mutants by dipping them in tanks, basically. So, 25 years after the doors have opened, those super mutants shouldn't be there, certainly, because FEV was only stored in 2 locations. So why there are super mutants there, we don't really know. It may be linked with the Scorched, which are the new enemies, and I'm not completely certain what's going on with them yet. They seem to be ghouls, but they are able to talk. They appear to have some kind of a hive mind, and they can also use guns, which is a little interesting. So let's just talk about the bad. Network is awful. There's an awful lot of lag, a lot of issues with tracking players. So I was about level 2 or 3, level 2 actually, I think, and every player character vanished for me, which means that I couldn't see where the players were, which means that I couldn't tell whether or not a workbench was in use or not, and that caused an awful lot of problems because I wasn't able to see where people were physically in the world. The performance is not great at the moment, specifically around the vault. I was getting an awful lot of hitching, lots of stuttering. It smoothed out when I got away from the vault and just sort of started wandering around the world, and you'll see that in the video that I attach with the audio, that there's an awful lot of stuttering. This does not happen in Fallout 4, so I can only assume there's something. Well, there's certainly something to do with the vault itself, possibly because it's sort of big open space and you want to show off the world. And it just really doesn't do particularly well at the moment. But that's quite a common complaint that people were having, that there was an awful lot of stuttering and an awful lot of hitching in the game. And I'm hoping that will be fixed for release. Some of the other odd little bugs that I popped up with, there's an awful lot of animation problems with animations not firing off properly. So you'll quite often see a ghoul or a raider standing in in an attack pose, but they'll be dead. So you can actually waste your ammunition firing at enemies which are not alive. Another thing I had was I got attacked by T-poses. That's when they're basically out in a T kind of pose. No attack animations whatsoever. They just sort of drift towards you and attack, which was very odd. And there was also this weird issue where, and this is leading into AI, that enemies might not actually detect you. Now, I was standing behind 2 of them with a shotgun. I wasn't really sneaking at all at that point, and I was able to kill both of them with the shotgun with very little effort. All in all, it's sort of what you expect for a Bethesda game, and it's sort of what I expect for a beta. It really is a true beta. There are bugs, certainly, and I do hope that they'll be polished throughout the beta period for release. We'll see on that front, certainly. Now, the other thing where I think we should really talk about is the multiplayer aspect of things. I don't know if I'm a fan of it or not. It feels very much like it's been shoehorned a little into the game, with this idea of if you are shot by a level 5 against if 2 level 5 or aboves attack one another, they can sort of fight it out. Unfortunately, this also means that if you decide to help someone by shooting something that they're having trouble with or whatever, and you accidentally shoot them, then they can then run up to you and murder you. Because you've shot them and that's initiated a sort of a duel type of thing. Which I think is a little bit of an issue. And I think that maybe adding in a little bit more of this is a sustained attack against someone before that actually fires back. I don't really know what's going on there. Basically, I think I might have accidentally shot someone. They decided to come over and beat me to death with a hook type thing. And then, I thought the way that it worked was that they shouldn't be doing too much damage, and they seemed to be doing a huge amount of damage to me, so I shot back, and it just, went from there. Probably I should have used a landmine or something. But, yeah, that is a thing, and certainly if you want to play Fallout 76, but you don't really want to deal with the people, that's going to be a bit of a problem. Another rather interesting thing. So the whole idea of me going into the beta was that I was going to do a sort of a 20-minute segment of, I'm going to make my character, I'm going to do this and that. Turns out voice, like talking to one another is on by default, which meant that as I started talking, I was talking with an open microphone to everyone in the vault, which meant that, and I could hear other people in the vault talking in Spanish. At least I think it was Spanish. It sounded like Spanish. It could have been Italian. I've made that mistake before. Yeah. But I think it was Spanish or Portuguese, something along those lines, which is not really what you want to hear when you're trying to do, anything, really. I would have thought that would have been optional by default, not jammed on by default with an open mic. I turned that option off in the end. But let's talk about the good now, because it wasn't all bad. And the thing was that the game kept pulling me in. There was awful stuttering problems, there was awful performance and networking and all these bugs. And despite it all, I kept being dragged on. Because I wanted to see the rest of the world. I wanted to see what was going on. I wanted to find out what was going on. And I died a few times to mobs. Because I'd accidentally wandered into a zone that was probably a little bit too high level for me. But it did mean that I leveled up a bit faster than I would have normally. So that's not necessarily a big issue. Because once you get to level 7, the pump action shotgun starts dropping. And I was playing a high intelligence character. So I was able to break all these shotguns down and actually start to unlock some really good parts. I had a good pistol and all that sort of things. Certainly high intelligence appeared to be the way to go. But, let's talk about the good. So, it's a Bethesda game, and it sort of leads you on. It wants you to go in a particular path, but it doesn't penalise you for going off the beaten path. And you're going to want to go off the beaten path a lot, just simply to avoid people, because people are, humans are what they are. We are a very warlike species after all, and that does transfer over into games where you've got PvP on as soon as you hit level 5. But there is this idea that obviously the game wants to take you in a particular direction. It will give you quests to basically say, no, don't go over there, go over here instead. And I'm just saying, no, I want to go over there. I want to see the trains and the planes and the automobiles. But the game was letting me do that, and that's fine. And the great thing is that because you got this camp thing, which you can say, well, you know what, I need my camp, I need my stash, I can just drop it down here. And I was using the rail lines quite a lot, because that's a great place to drop your camp down, because it's nice and flat. So I was dropping this camp down, and I was breaking stuff down and doing some cooking and throwing all of my loot into my stash. Because when you die, you drop all of the scrap that's on you. I refuse to call it junk, because it's not junk, it's scrap. And so you're going to want to drop your camp every so often to break down your weapons and get your stuff into your stash. Because once it's in the stash, nobody can touch it. So all the stuff goes into the stash. So if I die, I only lose some caps, and that's fine. I can get caps back. That's not a problem. But loot, I want to keep all my junk, all my scrap somewhere safe, because that's the stuff that I'm going to need to make myself into an awesome character. And so you can just sort of wander along, and I need to rest, I need to do whatever, just drop my camp down, rebuild the modules up, and Bob's your uncle. It's all done. You can drop your house, drop your furnace, whatever. You can just drop it down, and it's all good. I liked that, and that plays in with the multiplayer aspect, and you can go up into other people's camps and use their camps, use their workbenches to scrap stuff, or use their stash so that you can. And the stash is basically like an ender chest in Minecraft. The stash is your own. You can access other people's stashes, but you can't actually access their stash. There is a box there that's, when you access it, you're only ever going to be accessing your inventory, and that works well. Survival side, fairly easy to do. Just drink and eat every so often. All in all, it felt like a Fallout game, and it drew me into it, and I want to find out what the Scorch are, and I want to find out why the super mutants are in there. I have a very, very strange suspicion that it'll just be Bethesda saying, yeah, there's an FEV VAT here that everybody forgot about, because they have a habit of doing that. I just wish they would leave FEV alone and start creating their own mobs. Hopefully, in their own reason. Hopefully, the Scorch is not FEV. I hope that I'm wrong in that respect, but I have this strange feeling that I'm right in that. But I want to find out more about the world. I want to keep playing it, and if that means that I'm constantly moving away from wherever players are ending up, then so be it. I don't mind. I just want to explore that world. All in all, I did a very, very small amount of actually exploring. I did go up to the top of the world to find out what was going on there, and I did also get a first piece of the launch code, so that's going to be interesting. Leveling up seems to be quite quick from what I saw. In one quest, I leveled up twice as a result of it, and it's like this thing where you do this obstacle run, and it's brilliant, actually. There aren't really NPCs in the world, but there are. This is the strange thing. People have said, well, there was no NPCs in the game. There are. It's just that they're all robots, or they're all computers. It's very different, and I understand why they did it, because when you combine humans with NPCs, humans tend to like to kill NPCs. So either you have this problem where the NPC is immortal, or you have to remove it, because a player is going to kill a mortal NPC, because unfortunately you do have idiots out there. I mean, I will just drop into this a little bit. The multiplayer aspect didn't make a huge amount of sense, because you are all meant to be out of the same vault, rebuilding the world. So why are you fighting one another? It didn't make an awful lot of sense, that aspect. But all in all, should you get Fallout 76 right now? I would say no. If you're on the fence, hold off for a little bit, because although it is a Fallout game, and it does appear to be a good Fallout game, I can't really say whether or not it's going to be any good, because all in all, the beta is not in a particularly good state. But we'll see. Hopefully they'll fix the bugs, they'll fix the issues. It had an awful lot of potential, that's what I can say. And maybe when like the private servers come around, maybe they'll even add like a solo mode. I'd love that, to do like what they do with Elite, where you can either play in open, or you can play in solo, or you can play with sort of private groups, and it basically solo blocks you from ever having to interact with a player. I think that's worth doing, because all in all you can play Fallout 76 solo from what I've seen. There are instances in there where they want you to be playing with a group, and it just so happened that I had an awful lot of explosives with me, and I used the explosives instead, because that's the thing that you can do. But anyway, I'm going to end this video here. If you're interested in buying it, it is only available on the Bethesda store, so you do have to go through them. The beta is going on for a few more days. I think the next one is on Saturday. Yes, Saturday the 3rd, but I can't remember what the times are. And I think there's one on Sunday as well. But they have published all the beta times, when it's up, when it's down. Yeah, so with that I will say thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.